welcome to today's Interior Intel. I'm Pamela with Pamela Williams Interior Design, and we are going to be talking about layered lighting today. Lighting is definitely a huge part of interior design. Like the things we can talk about with lighting, I mean, it's a lot. It's like a long list, but I'm just going to focus on how to layer your lighting today so that you can get the most out of your space, so that it's functional and it's beautiful. Good lighting design is going to incorporate layers, and there's three main layers to good lighting design. So the first layer is ambient lighting. Ambient lighting is your overall lighting for your space. Ambient lighting can be a ceiling fan with a light, it can be a chandelier, it can be a pendant light, it can be a flush mount light, which is basically like flush to the ceiling. It can be recessed can lights. Whatever the light is, that pretty much just illuminates like the overall space. Like this is the most basic bottom layer for good lighting design. And so because it just is an overall light, the lumens for their light don't have to be very high because you don't need your overall light to be super intense. You're basically just like doing the basic of lighting up a room. So one tip that I can give you as like a loose guide for how many lumens you need when you do go out and buy your light bulb and things like that is to multiply the width and the length of your space to get your square footage, and whatever your square footage is, multiply that by 20, and that kind of gives you a broad, loose idea of how many lumens you want your ambient light to have. So keep in mind, when you do go shopping, that square footage does matter. So to have one little light in the middle of a huge room, like, isn't really gonna be effective. You're gonna have some dark corners. So I know a lot of modern homes and homes these days have a lot of recessed can lights, and I love recessed can lights just because they're so clean and they just look good to me. And so even with a recessed can, you know, the loose rule of thumb is to have like one light per every 4 square feet of ceiling space. So then you just place those, you know, a certain way to get a certain amount of light. You don't need a ton of recessed cans, but also you just want to make sure the proportion of your ceiling space and your square footage makes sense for the number of recessed cans you have. So with that being said as well, everybody has different needs. That's the whole point of design, is to solve the problem or to match the lifestyle of every single client that I have. So, you know, I have some older clients. Now with older clients that are moving into like their retirement home, you know, this is their forever home. So I have to consider what kind of lighting is going to go in that space that will be able to serve them for the rest of the time that they're in that space, you know. So they might need a little bit more light than a typical, you know, 20-something-year-old person going into their first home ever on their own. So definitely everybody's needs varies. So just as a quick recap on ambient lighting is the light that's good enough to perform basic activities, like the most basic. Like it doesn't have to be super bright, and it's not going to be super bright most likely for specific tasks. Like you're not going to be able to perform like little minuscule tasks with your overall ambient lighting, which brings me to the next layer. Layer 2 is task lighting, and task lighting is exactly that. It's the lighting that you use to perform specific tasks, such as cooking, reading, applying makeup, writing, the list goes on. Like whatever you need good light for, so you can see what you're actually doing. And the kinds of lights that, you know, could fall under a task light category include like wall sconces or pendants over your work area or track lighting, or what have you, but those are task lights. Excuse me. So I am a person that wears glasses, and I've been wearing glasses for a very long time, since I was like in elementary school. And so the health of my eyes and how I use lighting to see things is really, really important to me, because I do want to make sure my, you know, prescription doesn't change year over year very much. And so to control that, or to help me curve that, I really do pay attention to lighting, what kind of lighting I'm using to do specific tasks, because, you know, it will definitely affect your mood and your psyche and how you feel, and just how your brain is receiving all of everything your eyes are sending to it, right? So if I'm in a space and I'm trying to read, but I don't have the proper lighting, then I'm then going to be straining my eyes to see what I'm reading, which doesn't really help my mood. I mean, you might not realize it, or you might not pay attention to how that makes you feel, but it's definitely playing like an underlying effect on how your brain is interpreting and processing everything that you're seeing. So task lighting and ambient lighting, any lighting period, is very, very important to the activity you're performing. So task lighting is applicable to basically every space in your home. So, you're gonna have your ambient lighting, and then you probably should have at least one task light in like every space in your home. And so some examples of that include like under cabinet lighting in your kitchen. So if you have under cabinet lighting, you can cut that on and you'll be able to see so much more when you are cutting up your fruits and vegetables, or when you're cooking your meat or anything like that. Then like maybe a bright desk lamp for your home office, so you can see while you're doing work or you're reading or you're writing and things like that. Another example is a vanity area, whether the vanity is in your bathroom or it's not. Like if you have a separate space for your vanity, that's okay, but you need that task light to, say, apply makeup or do your nails. And Lord knows we want to make sure when we are doing our foundations and our contouring and our highlighting and all that stuff, we want to make sure it looks good when we walk outside. So having the proper light will definitely affect what you see inside versus what you give to the world outside. Things you want to focus on are the brightness, the adjustability, and the temperature of your task lamp. So basically, how bright is that light, right? Like, you don't want to get a little dim, cute task light, because that's definitely just not even helping anything. You might as well just have like an ambient light. Like, you want a nice, bright task light. And then as far as adjustability, it's great if you can choose the task light where you can change the brightness of it, make it dimmable or not. And also if you can change like the position of it, like does it have a swing arm? Can you readjust it? Can you bring it up and down? Like, that's a fully functioning great task light if it has those two features. And lastly, you want to consider the temperature. Temperature is basically like the color, and they call it kelvins. That's the technical name for it, kelvins. So what is the temperature of that light? And the temperature of that light will definitely play a role in what you're trying to use that light for. So just a little tip or rule of thumb is you might want to lean more towards like a cool, bright daylight type of light bulb. If you're doing really meticulous activities, like if you're sewing or if you're drawing, or you're putting together a baby puzzle, or you're painting a little figurine or something, like for stuff that's like really, really meticulous, you really should lean towards a task light that has that cool, bright light. Whereas if you're doing something like reading, more of a warm light is okay, because your eyes won't be as stressed and strained trying to read with like a bright, cool light. So you want to do like more of a warm light to help you just kind of relax as you're focusing on those words on the page and things like that, because it kind of mimics a traditional incandescent light, which is what a lot of us are used to, like growing up, because that's just what we've had for the most part. So yeah, so those are the first two. And to bring you to the third one, that is accent lighting. So accent lighting is like the jewelry. Like, this is the prettiest light in the room. It could be functional, it could be not functional. Like, an accent light will usually really subtly illuminate a space. And it's just that. It's just an accent. It's just the third layer. It's just the icing on top. That's it. So I know what's trendy right now is like the Edison light bulbs, and I think they're beautiful, because that's kind of like, that goes into the style that I love. I think it's that old industrial style. Edison lights are so pretty, but I would not recommend them for ambient lighting, because you're gonna have to use a whole bunch of them, or task lighting. Like, definitely not task lighting, because those are not meant to be very bright or very poppy. Like those are meant to set a mood. Like those are meant to just add that extra little flair or aesthetic to your space. So I just want to show you an example so you can have like that visual. So if you take this kitchen, for example, this kitchen has 3 layers. The first layer that we talked about, ambient lighting, comes with the track lighting. So this track, once you turn it on, it gives it like a nice overall just illumination, so you can actually see that, yes, this is the kitchen, this is the gathering space, like here it is. Then we have our task lighting that comes in with the 2 pendant lights, and these 2 pendant lights illuminate like the island area, so you know when you're eating and all that good stuff, like you can see what you're doing. And then the third one, which you can't really see in this picture but is still could be considered task lighting or accent lighting, is under cabinet lighting. And that lighting helps, depending on like how bright it is or the temperature, it could go either way. It could be just an accent to just, you know, illuminate like the backsplash on your wall, or if it's like a brighter light, it could be actual task lighting as well. So when you turn that on, like I've said before, like you can see what you're doing, you can see what you're cutting, you can see what meat you're making, and it just helps you feel better because you can actually see what you're doing. So I hope that all of this information helps. I hope that now you can go out in the world and shop for your light bulbs and your light fixtures to not only be beautiful in your space, but to actually serve you and be a benefit to you and your overall mental health and how you are experiencing your spaces with the right proper type of lighting design. So if you have any more questions or need more information, check us out at pamelawilliams.design, and I thank you so much for watching.